What do you see when you think of fairies? Tinkerbells or a cheeky leprechaun? That's so sweet, but it's way off. Fairy can and do take many freaky shapes. Some can appear to us in any bizarre form that it pleases them to. Let me show you what I mean. Take a look at this true story from County Galway with the mysterious Charlie. It just might blow your mind. There was a big, queer animal seen around here not so long ago. It was a strange thing, as big as a donkey, but it had the shape of a dog, and it was always seen by the villagers of Ballinastack whenever there had been a death in the village. It was believed that this creature lived with, or at least near, a particular woman that lived in the village. This woman was well known in the village, as it was believed that she had been with the fairies, that is to say, to have lived with the fairies for 7 whole years. So familiar was the woman with this dog-like creature that she named it Charlie. Local folk noticed that if this woman told too much about her time with the fairies, she would be black and blue in the morning, with Charlie having beat her. Well, this animal she called Charlie could transform itself into anything it liked. And if this woman that was with the fairies went to visit the neighbour's house and stayed too long, she would say, "I must go home now, Charlie is pinching me." When she eventually passed away, this huge creature never visited the town again. What creature sounds like a fox, can fly like a bird, looks completely nonsensical, and is a foreboding of death? Well, your guess is as good as mine. This true recorded account comes from County Mayo. And be sure to stick around to the end of the video, as I have some exciting news. Last winter, a very strange bird was heard in the district. At first, the people thought it was a fox because it was never heard during the day, but as night drew near, it would be heard upon the hill. Then, just a few minutes later, it would be heard down in the bog. Every night for about 3 weeks, the people listened to this bird, but were sure that it must be a fox because it had a bark like a fox. One night, my father and Thomas Gillen were visiting neighbours when they heard this bird, although they thought it was a fox. They thought it had to be a fox because it was down in the bog, and they could hear another one up on the hill, and the two were answering each other. Then, all at once, they heard a bark over their heads, and on looking up, what did they see but a bird, the likes of which they never saw before. This bird had no shape. It was described as being like a bundle of rags, and it went from rock to rock, just screaming. Well, the people were terrified of it, and the animals used to be jumping in the barns with fear. The old people said that the presence of this creature was the sign of death, as it would always be seen before sudden deaths in the district. A few weeks ago, we featured true sightings and encounters with water horses who dwell in the lakes of Ireland. Well, I kept a truly freaky water horse sighting up my sleeve just for today. This one occurred in the wild and wonderful County Donegal. It was on a Saturday evening about 7 years ago when my father was coming from his work in Ballyshannon. He saw a water horse in the Bridgetown River. When the horse noticed Daddy looking over the bridge at him, he disappeared down under the water. It stayed down under the water for about 20 minutes, and then it rose up again in the same place. Well, my daddy didn't move. He stood in silence, just watching for it. He said it looked like an ordinary horse, but it had very long, thin legs and a very short mane. It was a hazel brown colour and had strangely long ears, like a hare. Daddy crouched behind the wall of the bridge and watched the horse as it rolled around, lying on its back in the river. When the sun was going down and night was beginning to fall, the water horse swam away down under the bridge and out of sight. I don't know about you, but there is something particularly worrying about an unidentified creature that can terrify other creatures half to death. Long ago, there was a strange flying creature in the district of Greenan in the beautiful county of Wicklow. If it was a bird or not, no one could say, but it used to fly from place to place at night and was always screeching the most terrible sound. The cows and other animals in the district were afraid of it, and the people used to stay up all night in the fields and have big sticks in their hands to protect the cows and horses from its attacks. When the cows would be on top of the hill, the bird would start its screeching, and the cows would hear it and would start racing down the side of the hill, and they often killed themselves. When they would reach their barn, the sweat used to be falling off them. The old people said they were just as like they'd walked through a flood of water. It's a little unsettling how often fairy appear before humans in the form of a black pig. Take a look at this truly freaky account of a mysterious black pig in County Waterford. About 50 years ago, there lived on Crook Road a man named Jerry O'Toole. One day, O'Toole had gone to the fair, as he had done dozens of times before, looking to buy a pig. Well, at the fair, he found a black pig who caught his attention. Well, that day he brought home 2 pigs, the black one and a white one. This black pig was an extraordinary looking animal. He was long and lanky, and it was widely agreed by people in the district that he had a face that would nearly speak to you. Well, it wasn't long before O'Toole got frightened of this pig, because he used to follow family members around, right on their heels, from house to house and around the district, and actually snort their names. O'Toole got suspicious of what the black pig really was, and he decided it wasn't good to have him around the place anymore. So one day he took him out over the strand, as far as he could go. He decided to leave the pig there to perish alone. And this he did. He left the pig, turned and went home. When he arrived home, he found to his horror that the pig was there before him. He did this 3 times in succession, and every time the pig was at home before him. He came to the conclusion that he would have to get it shot, as it was a fairy pig. Well, sadly, this is where this account ends. What O'Toole did, we don't know, but if he followed through with his plan to destroy this freakish creature, I can only imagine what became of him and his family. So there you have it, 5 freakish fairies. Well, I hope I've banished all images of Tinkerbells and jolly leprechauns from your mind. Now, a little news and an invitation. I'm writing a book about fairies, which will include loads of true fairy sightings and encounters. And I'd like to invite all of you who have experienced your own personal sighting or encounter, or know someone who has, to consider sharing it in my upcoming book. All correspondence between us will be confidential. Stories will only ever be published with your written permission, and you don't have to use your real name if you prefer. If you feel comfortable in sharing, I would love to hear from you. Please email me at the address in the notes below. And thanks for spending time with me today. I really appreciate it. Until next time, stay curious and be kind. Cheerio!